Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Good morning students, welcome back. We are studying world politics. We are studying US hegemony in world politics, our third chapter of political science, the part 1 book of political science. Up till now we had studied the ways in which US had been a dominant power in the world. Then we had studied the meaning of this domination in politics. We term it as hegemony. We had studied towards the end of the last session different dimensions of hegemony. We have studied that military power can be the reason for hegemony, economic advantage a country may be enjoying, that's why it can be a hegemon in the world. We have studied that a country may enjoy political powers which may lead to its dominance. We have studied that its culture might be the reason that it is enjoying the support of many people in the world. Its culture might have wide acceptance, okay, by the people, and that is why it may be in such a position to affect others. This position of affecting other people or other nations is called as the hegemonic power. You are in a position to affect the way of life of others. So you are in a way hegemon and you are enjoying the hegemony. Okay. We will study now different understanding about this hegemony. Okay. It is perceived in different ways from different angles. So all these ways in which a country is a hegemon, especially how the US is a hegemon, if we study all those things, we categorize them into 3 groups, or you can say 3 categories of hegemony or power. One is hegemony as a hard power. Hegemony as hard power. Okay. The other 2 are hegemony as structural power and hegemony as soft power. Okay. First we will study hegemony as a hard power. Hard power being very strong in terms of military and security and weapons. Okay. So military dominance here, basically in a hard power we refer to as military dominance or military superiority. Okay. US has the reach in all parts of the world. US can reach any part of the world, okay, with its missiles. US has set up its naval bases, military bases in many parts of the world, not only in its own country but outside. In many islands it has acquired some islands which are uninhabited, nobody lives there. Okay. In such places it has acquired and set up its base camps, or you can say the military camps, and from there it has a control over the neighboring areas, neighboring countries. So in this way it has its reach throughout the world, across the globe, anywhere it can launch missiles, that reach it has. So it has a reach worldwide. Okay. Next, no other power in the world can match the capabilities of US, especially the military capabilities. It has the highest military capability in terms of weapons, in terms of technology of defense. Okay. Military expenditure of US, if we study, okay, we'll compare different countries. The US alone, if we study the data of 2004, the US alone spent $455.9 billion alone on the defense, on the military. Okay, that was the military expenditure in 2004, only for 1 year. If we study the next superpowers like Russia, China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, India, and many other countries who are the leading countries in terms of military and defense. If we take 12 powers together, 12 next superpowers of next to US, if we study, then these 12 superpowers together have spent only $449.4 billion. So even together 12 next powers of the world cannot match the military expenditure of US, and the efficiency in the expenditure is also worth mentioning. It has minimum wastage. Okay, less of corruption is there in the country, so there is minimum wastage of funds. So that's why this 455.9 is the real term expenditure. It is an expenditure in real terms, nothing goes in vain. Okay, so that is the military power of US, and that is why we can say that it is enjoying hard power. Why a country may have military capabilities? What are the objectives of having military capabilities? There could be 4 basic reasons for having military capabilities in the world. One is to conquer. To conquer means to annex or to attack and take into your political possession. That is called as to conquer. So either to conquer different countries, okay, or to deter. To deter means to protect oneself from being conquered. That means US, if it wants to protect its own country, that nobody else attacks and conquers it. So for that protection also you need a military. That is why that is another objective for having military capabilities. Another is to police. To police means to guard, to safeguard, to protect, that nobody causes any harm to you. So for that also you need a military. Also one more reason is for punishing. Suppose somebody attacks you, then you need to punish such a person or such an organization so that in future it cannot dare to attack. The Al-Qaeda has attacked the US in the 9/11, and to punish it, US has done counter attacks in different camps of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and other places, and it has arrested many people, many suspects from across the world, especially from the Arab countries. So that was in retaliation, or you can say for punishment, to punish such people who does such activities. So this is the military capability of US. We categorize such type of capabilities as hard power. This is an example of US having hard power. Another categories of power we will further study. Now we will study the second category of powers, that is structural powers. Okay, so hegemony as a structural power we will study now. In this comes the infrastructure, facility related power. Okay. US plays a very important role in providing public goods. Okay, public goods. These public goods are those facilities which are enjoyed by the general public. Okay, and here we need to study those public goods which are enjoyed by the world community. Okay, so in those category of goods there is presence of US. US facilitates in proper use and management of such public facilities. We will study some examples of such facilities. Generally, the fresh air, the environment, okay, the oceans, the routes of communication and transport, these are public facilities enjoyed by the world community, and US has its presence in that also, and a dominant presence it is having. Okay, so these public goods are joint properties of the world community. They are like fresh air, like roads, merchant ships network, okay, routes of transportation, and also free trade, working for free trade. So US works for all these things. US also works for free trade between countries. Opening of sea lanes of communication. US has time and again played a very important role in opening sea routes, okay, so that there could be easy communication among countries. So many lanes of communication through the ocean routes have been opened up so that the merchant ships can travel easily with shorter distances, and there is free flow of goods across nations. That works for the betterment of the whole world. It is all the countries are at an advantage if there is free flow of goods and services and technology and all these things. So sharing is easy among countries. So US works always for opening up of such sea routes of communication. We call it as SLOC, that is sea lanes of communication. Okay. US also works for having some naval power of the sea. That means it has lot of well developed navy. Okay. So with that it has freedom of navigation, and it works for freedom of navigation of other countries also. Another very big dimension of US enjoying such facilities is the internet. Today we cannot imagine our life without internet. But do you all know how this internet came into existence? Internet, it is the direct outcome of the military research done by US. Internet was invented through a long research process, the military research process of communication done by US, which began in 1950, and then they came up with such a facility which can communicate the whole world. It can bring the whole world together in terms of flow of information, and you can say information technology also. Okay. The internet relies on global network of satellites. All the satellites of the world, all different countries have their own satellites in the space. Okay. All these satellites are interconnected. Okay. And this internet works through this connection of all the satellites only. Okay. So most of these are owned by US itself. Most of such satellites in the space are owned by US, and US that way facilitates in communication across the world, that is global communication we can say. Also US shares 28% of the world economy. If we take out the sum total of the world's economy, how much it is in monetary terms, or you can say for example GDP if we calculate, okay, that is the gross domestic product, the sum total of all the goods and services produced within a country in a particular year is the GDP of that year. If we sum total the GDP of all the countries of the world together, and then we take out the proportion of US in that GDP, then it shares 28% of that GDP. So in a way, if sum total of all the economic activities is taken out, then 28% is the contribution of US alone. So that is the advantage that US is enjoying. Then 15% of the world trade, the international trade. trade between different countries. So whatever import and export takes place, if we sum up the exports of all the countries, that is the total international trade of the world. Out of that total international trade of the world, US alone has a share of 15%. 15% is the turnover of export, or you can say the extent of export of US alone. Okay. Also, there is a system of money transfer called as Bretton Woods system. Bretton Woods system is a system of money transfer. Okay, that was developed to have money transfer between the US, the Canada, and Western European countries and some other countries also adjoining. So that locality, all those countries around US, to have money, easy money transfer between them, and to manage proper foreign exchange, such a system is developed. It is called as Bretton Woods system. This system was developed by US. It plays a major role in this system, and the system was such good, it was so rational that it was adopted by other group of nations also, like the European Union and other group of nations like SAARC nation, Southeast Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, so or you can say the other countries of the world, when they form regional groups and have monetary transfer among themselves, they use this Bretton Woods system. That is another way US enjoys a structural power. If we study some world level organizations like the World Bank, it is the bank of the banks, or it is the bank of the countries. Okay, different countries of the world, or you can say different governments of the world, they deposit and they borrow from this World Bank. So it is the biggest bank of the world, we can say. Countries borrow, countries deposit funds there. Okay. So in this World Bank also, US has a big domination, okay, because its contribution, its deposits in World Bank is maximum. Okay, and that is why it enjoys more of decision making power in the World Bank. In the same way, the International Monetary Fund. International Monetary Fund is the fund managed by world countries. Okay, it is a fund in which money collection is done, and this fund is used to give money, or you can say to give grants or loans to different countries for different projects, or certain to meet the expenses of certain calamities or such type. Okay, so say for example, during these days when there is the issue of the spread of pandemic, the corona, so to fight it, lot of expenditure is required. So India has also borrowed money from the World Bank, and this bank, from where it gives from this fund, the International Monetary Fund, in which money is deposited and the stock of money is there, the account balance is there. So from this balance it gives loan to different countries. So many countries borrow for big projects and some expenses which arise all of a sudden, which is beyond the capacity of the governments to meet. So they borrow from the World Bank, and from this fund it is given. And another organization is the World Trade Organization. This is the regulatory authority of international trade. All countries, some about 98 and nowadays more members are there. These countries have united together to form the World Trade Organization. In this World Trade Organization, policies related to international trade, all those policies which make international trade easier, with less barriers to trade, with less restrictions like quota system, licensing system, export import duty and taxes. Okay, these are, if they are minimum, then goods and services can be flown among countries, it can be shared among countries easily. So the objective of World Trade Organization is to ensure free flow of goods and services among nations. In this organization also US enjoys a very dominant position. If we study the top 3 firms of all the sectors, any sector we imagine about, be it you can say tourism sector, be it education sector, be it IT sector, be it transport sector, be it automobile sector, any sector we assume, in that sector if we study the top 10 companies or top 10 firms, at least one firm will find which is of US. That means it has its presence in all the types of businesses, and it is one of the top level firm. US is having one in the top firms of any sector of the world. Okay, so that also shows its structural power. Okay, there is a degree, MBA degree. Nowadays we hear much about it, and many people the youth are pursuing their MBA degree from different colleges. Can you imagine, earlier it was thought that business cannot be taught into the classrooms or in the colleges or institutes. It is something which a person learns by adopting the business of the family, and it is an inbuilt talent, it cannot be taught. It was believed in that way. Okay, but for the first time business teaching started. Okay, so for the first time an MBA degree started in US itself. Okay, Wharton School, it is the college, it is said as school, doesn't mean that it is a higher secondary school, it is an higher studies education institute. In the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School was the first school to start an MBA degree, and now the whole world is having this as an academic course in different colleges and universities. So this way it has those structural powers which the world enjoys, and many times for us it is a source of inspiration. We learn these modern things from the United States of America. So this way it enjoys structural powers in the world. Welcome back, students. We are studying different categories of hegemony. We have studied hegemony as a hard power. We have studied hegemony as a structural power. Now we are going to study hegemony as a soft power. If we study soft issues of the world, in that also US enjoys some relevance. Okay. Hegemony as a soft power. US has the capacity to manufacture consent. Consent means to have an approval and acceptance. Okay, so US has a capacity that it can generate consent for itself, whatever it feels like implementing in the world. It can have the consent easily by the world community. The world community many a times have to agree to the ideas or proposals of US. So that ability we call it as a capacity to manufacture consent. US can persuade other countries to a viewpoint which is in a manner favorable to US itself. Okay. So in such issues where it is any idea is favorable to US, it can have the consent of the world to follow that thing, and it may be advantageous to US in that way. No other country would oppose that proposal or idea. And our ideas about good life, whatever we imagine, whatever we dream about our future, our development, our good life, we take into consideration the way of life of US. That means the people of US, what way of life they were having in the 20th century is a source of inspiration for us today. So we dream in a manner of the life spent by the people of US, okay, for our future. That is also in a way we are following the ideas of US. The culture of US is also the most tempting in the world. Many people in the world, they observe the US culture and they try to follow it. Okay. We have seen the example of people wearing jeans. I have talked about it earlier. People in the world nowadays, even the common man, even the servant class, labor community also wears the jeans, whereas earlier it was nowhere in the culture of other countries. It started only from US, and in our country also, in the starting only the rich people could afford to wear a jeans. Nowadays it has been absorbed, the practice of it has been absorbed by the whole country, and even the common man has the practice of wearing jeans. So it is just a small example to show that people admire the culture of US, okay, and that is also a power enjoyed by US. So all these soft issues are the attributes of enjoying power. So this attribute of US enjoying the power in such manners, way of life, culture, ideas and ideologies being followed by others, it is this attribute called as the soft power. Soft power, the ability to persuade others to become the followers. This hegemony, this type of hegemony, we call it as a soft power.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more.